Okay, so you had homework last night. Well, actually tonight. Let Mrs. Bressler find it. Okay, so we are going to start with the check your understanding. Veronica used the formula. Now, remember, when we're using these formulas, we don't really care what everything stands for. It's more just understanding how to get the variable by itself. So Veronica used the formula M sub A. We call it sub A because A is on the bottom. V sub A equals M sub B, V sub B. After completing a titration experiment to determine the molarity of nitric acid, who cares about all this? All we want to know is, what are we solving for? We're solving for M sub A. So in order to sub from M sub A, I'm just going to rewrite it. M sub A, V sub A equals M sub B, V sub B. I do not see any addition or subtraction in this problem, so I will not do any addition or subtraction. I have to think when variables are connected like this, it's multiplication. So if I want MA by itself, I need to get rid of V sub A. And in order to get rid of V sub A, we have to do the opposite of multiplication, which is dividing both sides by V sub A, so that becomes 1. And we get M sub A equals M sub B, V sub B, all over V sub A. Okay, so just so you know, we're just rewriting everything because we can't put this in the calculator. The average velocity V of an object. Again, do we really care about what the variables mean? We just care about getting the variables by itself. So V equals S sub F minus S sub I. I'm just rewriting the formula, all divided by T. And they want us to solve for S sub F. I like to highlight what we're solving for so that we know in the problem what needs to be by itself. So in this case, S sub F needs to be by itself, so everything else needs to move. The first thing I see is the whole thing's being divided by T. And we've talked about the opposite of dividing by T. What am I going to multiply the whole thing by? I'm going to multiply it by T. T on this side, T on this side. T times V gives me just TV. S sub F minus S sub I, because T divided by T is just 1. So again, I want S sub F by itself. So in order to get it by itself, I need to get rid of that S sub I. And in order to do that, I want to do the opposite of subtracting it. I want to add it to both sides. But again, I can't do this, so I just write it out. TV plus S sub I equals, that goes away, S sub F. Okay. The formula to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius, I'm going to rewrite the formula. C equals 5 over 9 F minus 32. Okay. I want to, in this case, solve the equation for F. Okay. We do not like fractions. Okay. And there's a fancy name for if I want to get rid of 5 over 9. Okay. It's called reciprocal. And the reciprocal of a number is just flipping it. So 5 over 9 becomes 9 over 5. Because what happens is these are going to cancel to become 1. These are going to be canceled to become 1. Okay, so I'm going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal, 9 over 5. So I get 9 over 5C equals, if I put this in Desmos, it becomes 1. We just saw that over here. F minus 32. But I want to get F by itself. So if F needs to stay, that minus 32 needs to go to the other side. The opposite of subtracting 32 is adding 32 on both sides. I'm just writing down everything in order. 9 over 5C plus 32 equals F. Final answer. Okay. We have a formula in the next one. D equals 1/2 AT squared. Okay, we need to get T by itself, but if you notice in this particular problem, T is being squared. And we haven't talked yet about what the opposite of squaring something is. We talked about it in class today, but just know if I have t squared, and I want to do the opposite, undo the squaring, okay, I wind up with the square root of t. If I had x squared, if I want to undo it, I would do the square root of x. If I had y squared and I wanted to undo it, I would do the square root of y. Okay? So these are all opposites. We call them inverse operations. Okay? So, but I have a fraction, 1 divided by 2. What's the first thing I should multiply by? If I have 1 divided by 2, I want to multiply this whole thing by 2. Opposite of dividing by 2 is multiplying. 2d equals half of 2 is just 1. A t to the second power. But again, we want just t by itself, not t squared, just t. So let's start by moving the a to the other side. Well, they're attached not by addition or subtraction, but when they're next to each other, it's multiplication. The opposite of multiplying is dividing both sides by a, so that the a's become 1. I get 2d over a equals t squared. And again, we said the opposite of squaring something is the square root. So what happens here is nothing. 2d over a, the square root, but the square root and the squared are inverse opposites, and that just gets t by itself. And that is the final answer.